Hello there, Leo. Thank you so much for stopping by for your monthly in-depth tarot forecast. We are going to be breaking down this forecast into segments in time so that we're not looking at just the major overarching themes for the month, but we're going to be looking at 4 different segments of the month for you. I apologize on getting these out late. I actually decided on the 30th of June that I wanted to switch over from weeklies to monthlies. And so I'm a little bit behind the curveball in getting these recorded because they do take a little bit of time to actually record and put together and get uploaded and all that good jazz. So anyway, my apologies that this is late coming out to you, but let's get started. The first time frame that we're going to hit is going to be July the 8th through the 11th. Okay, July the 8th through the 11th. Let's get started. If you guys want to skip through this part where I shuffle and put the cards down, you're more than welcome to do that. A lot of people like to be a witness to that happening, so that's why I include it in my videos. But if you're not one of those people, I totally understand. I will not be offended if you zoom through. Okay, so for July 8th through the 11th, Leos, what we have coming up for you as far as your environment. Now, your environment is any place where you have energy or effort invested. For most people, it shows up as home, but I have had clients tell me that this is school or this is work. So you'll recognize what environment it is that I'm talking about as I continue into it. Or if you don't yet, you will between the 8th and the 11th. Okay, so it does look like there is something going on where you're coming back to your environment. Maybe you were traveling before July 8th to the 11th. It looks like you are coming back to your environment, and it's secure, it's safe, it's stable. It's a nice, stable, reliable environment. And I think that you're even doing things to improve it too once you get back to it. So that's what we have coming up for environment for July 8th through the 11th, Leos. Next, let's look at your subconscious leanings coming through this time frame. Subconscious is about coming back into the nest, is basically how I say it when I look at this main card that we have coming up here. But this can be about coming back home. This can actually be about going to visit a child at home. This could be about bringing a child into the family or into the home. This could be a family celebration. This can be somebody coming back to work at a location where you work that was gone for a little while. Maybe their vacation is ending. Maybe this is you going back to work after your vacation is over. Maybe this is just in your subconscious about getting back home from vacation. But this is about coming back into the nest. And I think your subconscious is really working on the idea of somebody coming back into the nest. And I think that you are worried a little bit that it won't feel good to come back into the nest for you, but you're excited because you have ideas about things that you can do to change that. So that's what's going on in your subconscious. So I would say your subconscious is already working about you returning to your environment and already working on, making that environment better, so that I think earlier in the week your subconscious is already working about returning home. And then once you return home, you're happy to be home. It's stable. It's clean. It's a happiness, solid foundation place. But I think that even before you get back home, your subconscious is already working on how can I make that place more satisfying? And that's where we see your subconscious is winding through those improvements so that when you get home, you start to make those improvements at home. Okay? So what should we look at next? I think what I want to look at next for you guys in this particular time frame is that part of your personality which is being grown or expanded right now. La da 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 da. This is interesting. It looks to me like you are growing or expanding in finding people that you can network with about work, some kind of work, whether it's work that you get paid for or work that you're doing for personal reasons or whatever, you are finding more of a support network around that, people that you can learn from, people that you can rely on. And I think also you're learning about balance. You're learning about balance between social time and actual time to do some labor and knock things out and actually do work. So you're really growing in this idea of balance. You're growing your social network. You're also working hard, and you're really growing on finding that balance so that you're not doing too much of either one or too little of either one. Cool, cool. I think a lot of people could use expansion in that area, growth in that area. Next thing that we're going to look at is what's going on between the 8th and the 11th as far as learning style and communication style for you, Leos. I do have that your learning style may be really focused on spiritual things right now, or on learning things in spiritual ways. Maybe you are trying to learn how to, what do they call that? Where you see things from a long way off. There was a big study on it that our country did as far as in the, I think it was in the 40s, maybe the 50s, about being able to spy, and they were using psychics to be able to see things at a distance, you know, like things over in Russia and the complexes where they were storing weapons and things like that. And these people were coming back as really accurate on this stuff. So you may be trying to learn how to do that. That phrase or that word that I can't think of. That's one example. But your learning is focused on either something spiritual, that's really what you're focusing on learning more about or finding information about, or you're focused on how can I find more information in a spiritual type of way and have it be accurate, complete information. So that's your learning style, at least as it pertains to this particular week. Main theme of it anyway. Communication style. Once again, we have friends, support network, colleagues showing up here. I think there is a lot of communication, and it's friendly, happy communication with friends and colleagues. I think that the communication that you're putting out there is very open and honest. I don't think that you are hiding anything or trying to just pretend things are okay when they're not for anybody. And I think that your communication is very direct and to the point as we go through this particular time, Leos. Next, we're going to look at work. And for those of you who don't know, I see work in two different ways. First of all, I see work as how you make a living or how you feel productive in the community if you're not working a job where you get paid. And then the other way that I see work is what are we doing to improve our own inner selves for our personal particular satisfaction. Okay? So we're going to look at outer work first, that work that we're doing in the community. Looks to me like you have come to the end of some kind of long struggle that's been going on whenever it comes to work for you. And I think you're really torn right now when it comes to work, because it looks like even though you've come to the end of some kind of long struggle, it's like now, you know, there's almost a sigh of relief for being there, except you don't have time to sigh for relief because now there's this new challenge that's come up for you around work or at work. And so you're torn inside. I think that you're really thinking, is it worth it for me to stay where I am? Or is it just going to be challenge after challenge after challenge after challenge? Is this the beginning of a pattern? Or is it better for me to look to be working in another place or in another industry? So I think that's where you're really torn. You can't decide if you want to stay and see this thing through, and like if you think you're not sure if you're going to be able to see this thing through, or if this is going to be a long-term issue that comes up with challenge after challenge, or if it's going to get better. And so there is this debate there for you, this inner turmoil or inner conflict about what you should do about the situation with work. Now, next thing that we're looking at is that inner work, those things that we do to improve our own inner selves. And it seems to me like as far as inner work, you are very, very tired um, because your emotions and your logic have not been lining up lately. You feel one way about different issues, and then you know logically that something else is actually the smarter way to go about those same issues. And so you've been torn, and I think this is multiple issues. I don't think that this is just a one thing. And so this is something that you've just gotten tired. You're tired of fighting. You're tired of fighting with it. I think at this point you're just ready to flip a coin to make decisions rather than try to sort through your emotions and your logic both. And you're just letting down your guard. Most of you actually, I'm going to say, not so much flip a coin. I think most of you are just tired of fighting this. I think you're going to go with what your emotions say and just let that take you wherever it's going to go. That's where your inner work is right now because you're just tired of trying to reconcile emotions and logic. All right. Next, let's look at those things that you stand for. There's something that you're letting go of or that you're saying goodbye to as you come through this time frame of July 8th through the 11th. And it's perfectly appropriate for you to be letting go of this. And I believe that you know that. That doesn't keep it from being bittersweet. But I think intuitively you've been being nudged that this is the way that it needs to be, or this is the direction that it's going. And by saying goodbye to whatever this is the end of somebody taking advantage of you or exploiting you. This could be a personal relationship. This could just be a job where they don't pay you anything near what you're worth and don't really appreciate what you bring to the table. Either way, your intuition has been telling you that that this needs to go, that people walk all over you and exploit you is not really for your highest and best interest. And so you are letting this, whatever the situation is, whether it's personal or whether it's work, whatever it is, you're letting it go. And it is bittersweet. It's not like there's not some emotion there. It's bittersweet, but you still know that. I think you've gotten to the point that you know in your heart and in your head that this can't keep going the way that it's been going, and so you're going to have to let go of it. La da da da. How do other people perceive you? Well, isn't this interesting? Whoever this is that challenged you about letting this thing go and why you're doing that, they don't believe that you're using your intuition at all. They think you're just completely confused to be letting this thing go. And I kind of feel like they're either the thing that you're letting go or they're attached somehow to that thing that you're letting go. And so they challenge you about letting go of it. They see you as going into recluse mode, like stepping back from the world. They feel like you're not going to have enough by letting this thing go. And that they don't think you're following your intuition. They just think you're confused. Okay? Isn't that interesting? Because your intuition is exactly what you're following. And this is allowing you to not be taken advantage of anymore, and yet this person thinks that you're going to be worse off. I don't believe this person. I think this person has a very warped view of what's going on here. I think this person is probably either the person taking advantage of you or connected somehow with that situation. And I don't think that let's say this, they have an overestimated opinion of self and what they bring to that situation. They don't realize what's really actually happening or really actually going on because this person just can't see past their own nose. Anything that's out here, anything that has to do with any other person, they don't see that. All they see is this, what's right in themselves. So their perception of you is that, oh, well, you're not going to make it without me. You're not going to make it without this job. You're not going to make it without whatever. You're just going into hermit mode. You're going into recluse mode. That's not healthy. And you're doing this because you're confused. You know, they're thinking, poor Leo. Leo's really confused and they're not going to make it. They're just not going to make it. They're probably saying this to you, Leo. I feel like they are saying this to you. I don't want you to let this person rattle you. Okay? I really don't want you to let this person rattle you, because their perception of you is almost straight up the opposite of what the real deal is. So whatever they're saying, you can't listen to that, because if you do, that's going to throw you off. So please don't listen to them. Know that if you're following your intuition, then you're doing well. Intuition doesn't lead anybody wrong. Okay? Next, let's look at the pivotal point of the week, Leo. What's going on for your pivotal point? Leo, I think what's happening for your pivotal point in the week is that you are remembering somebody who has passed away or crossed over into spirit realm. And it looks to me like you kind of fight not to remember because it's painful to remember. There's something painful about remembering this person who has crossed over. So you're still at this point of trying not to remember that person. You're not at the point yet in your grief where you can remember that person and smile and be happy about the good times that you had together with that person. And I just see you in this really emotional place as you're remembering this person. And it feels to me like you come into a situation where you're forced to remember this person. You know, because you've got the boundaries up. You're trying to not remember about this person because it hurts too much and you don't want to cry in front of other people, or you don't want to endure that pain, or whatever it is, but it's because it hurts too much. And now you're forced into a situation where you can't help but remember this person. And it has you definitely feeling very emotional, and it's sort of messing with the logic processes of your mind as you're remembering this person. Okay? Now, what's going on as that's happening? It's interesting because it's almost like in remembering this person who has crossed over, you're having a real change in ideas about how you want to handle yourself in life, for you, for your life. And where before you might have been very cautious about a lot of different things and wanted to plan everything out and make sure it was perfect, you are letting some of that cautiousness go. Now, I'm not saying you're becoming totally reckless. I mean, there's a lot of room on that pendulum between cautious and reckless. You're closer to the cautious end than the reckless end, even with letting some of that cautiousness go. But I do think that remembering this person has made you decide that there's something that you've been waiting to do because you wanted everything to be perfect and safe and reliable, stable, and now you're deciding, you know what? Life is short. And I don't know how long I'll have to wait if I keep waiting until the time is right. And so I think you're releasing yourself from waiting, and you're going ahead and doing something that you've been wanting to do for a long time, but you've been sort of waiting for the right time because you wanted to make sure that everything was perfect about the situation when you did it. That's an empowering thing that you're doing there, Leos. What else is happening? What else is happening? As you're remembering, as you're being forced to remember that person that's crossed over. You're definitely doing some healing. You're finding a lot of laughter. You're finding a lot of happiness. I think this person is finding a way to come through and bring you comfort. Maybe you're getting a medium reading, or maybe you're bumping into somebody who's a natural medium that passes along messages to you. But I think that you are definitely finding happiness here. And I think also you're realizing that just because this person has passed over into the spirit realm only doesn't mean that they're gone. Just means you can't feel them when you hug them anymore. They're still here. They're still interested in you. They didn't forget about you. Just because they walked out of their body doesn't mean they walked out of your life. And I think you're starting to realize that. You're starting to understand a little bit about how that works. Where I think that you had, I don't want to say I don't think you understood. I do think that you had some paradigms that were passed down to you about what happened when people die that you believed in or followed because you didn't ever have a chance to know better or explore if there were other ideas out there that might be true. And I think that, part of this being forced to remember this person is shifting your paradigms about what happens when somebody dies. You may be starting to think, well, maybe when somebody crosses over, it's not exactly how the church taught me. Maybe something else a little bit different happens with their spirit. But you're definitely having a shift in ideas about what goes on with that. You're understanding that that person is still interested in you. They haven't forgotten you any more than you have forgotten them. They are finding some kind of way to bring you comfort, and you are healing and you're finding some happiness. You're definitely in the healing process on this grief. Okay? And then, so that's our pivot point of the week and what's going on during that pivot point. Once we get to the end of the week. Ooh, ho, 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 ho. This is interesting, interesting, interesting. I think you guys are starting to do some readings for yourself. I think you guys were not ready to let go of this person, and once you realize that you don't exactly have to let go of this person, even though they can't be in your life in the same way, I think you're starting to get really fascinated by the idea of being able to communicate with somebody who's crossed over, and I think you're starting to practice and you're starting to see, can I do readings? Can I communicate with my person? You're starting to check this out. You're starting to see if that's really for real or not. You want to find that out. And I think there are people around you who are saying, why don't you just forget about that person? That person's gone. Why don't you forget about this idea of talking to people who have crossed over? Why don't you talk to the people that are alive in front of you? And I think you're saying, you know what? Because I say to this person that crossed over, and also I want to hear what they have to say to me. And so I think you continue to practice in spite of the criticism of other people as you come into the end of the month. Okay? All right, so that's what we have for July 8th through the 11th. Leos, it seems like, that pivot point's pretty powerful. Seems like it's a pretty powerful week. I like it. All right, so I'm going to take a break now, and then I'll come back in a few minutes, and we'll look at your next segment of July. See you soon. Hello again, Leos. We are back again. Now we are looking at the time frame from July 12th through July the 18th. Let's see what comes up for you during this week. Leos. By the way, the deck that I'm using today is the Wildwood Tarot. It's the deck that I learned on originally was a Wildwood Tarot. Did I say Wild Deck Tarot? Wildwood Tarot is what I meant to say. Okay, so let's take a peek at your environment. It looks like you're making a choice about your environment during the week of July the 12th to the 18th. And there's a lot of confusion around this choice that you're trying to make. I think that you're looking at some kind of option which really actually weakens your strength in a material way in the world. This could be, maybe you're looking at doing something that would cause the price of your environment to be higher, whether that's refinancing, signing a different lease, something like that. That just does make your material status more weak in the world because you have more outflow coming out that could be going on other things. Or the other option is to do something that is more ideal for you financially and materially. So you've got these two options, and I think whatever is the more expensive option is one that is really tempting you. Two options having to do with your environment. And this doesn't have to be about getting into a new place or a new contract either. This can be about, upgrading or updating some of the appliances, or redoing the kitchen, some kind of rehab project just as easily. But anyway, you're looking at, there's this option, and one of the options is that you have things just exactly the way that you want them, and the other option leaves you feeling like you have a lesser situation happening here. And so this actually could go two ways with this lesser situation. It could be that there's more money coming out of your pocket than what you were hoping for or planning for, or it could be that if you don't get what you had considered your ideal originally, then whatever you have may be something that you feel like is not good enough as you go forward after you already have made this change. So yeah, could be that you're spending more than you were planning on, or it could be that you're thinking about settling for a lesser grade of material or product than you would like. One of the two. So, and I think what's coming up is that you really are having a lot of confusion about this decision whenever it comes to the week of the 12th to the 18th. I don't know that you're even making that decision during the week. The next thing that I'm looking at talks to me about your subconscious leanings. And what we have here is that there has been some kind of struggle or some kind of frustration that's been going on. And this is about making a decision. However, this is the same decision that we were looking at for your environment. But there is a decision that you're making, and this really has to do, I think that this has to do with the timing of things. Some of you may be trying to decide if it's time to have a baby, or if it's time to make some kind of major life change, whether it's committing to another individual, or going back to school. There's something going on here with timing where you're really frustrated about trying to make a decision about what you want to do moving forward. It seems to me like there's a lot of untapped potential that you haven't even really discovered here, and a lot of the reason you haven't really tapped in is because you haven't figured, okay, you know what, the time is now. And the frustration is committing to the time to do whatever this is, make this life change, whatever that life change is. So your subconscious is really working on ending that frustration of that not knowing which way to go or which side of the fence you're on all the time. It looks to me like your subconscious wants to just set a date and be done with it. This is when we're going to do this. And your subconscious is working on, is that realistic to do that? How can we do that? If we do that, what would be the date of that? Okay? Now, the next thing that I want to look at talks to me about that part of your personality which is growing or expanding as we go through this time period from the 12th to the 18th. It looks like there are some things happening where you're coming out of partnership with different people in your life. And this is going to be multiple people. So we're not looking at like just a romantic relationship. In fact, it may not even involve your romantic relationship or partnership at all. This can be about business partnerships or friends. It feels to me like there's partnerships, like I said, could be friendships, could be business partnerships. Those are disintegrating or falling away. And I think that this is leaving you feeling very vulnerable. I feel like the reason they're disintegrating or falling away has nothing to do with anything that would be under your control. You know, there are just things going on, like there are mitigating circumstances in somebody else's life where they're no longer able to partner up with you. Maybe you have a friend that is moving to a different country, or a business partner that has to stop work to go home and take care of family. You know, there's There's things going on that are outside of your control that are disintegrating these partnerships that you have going on. And to me, it looks like you take some time actually alone as these partnerships are falling apart and really look at, okay, so what's my next step? What's the next thing I want to do here in this particular area of my life? And I think it's going to be happening in more than one, but in this particular area of my life where this is happening, what do I want from my next partnership? What do I want to bring to the next partnership? Do I actually want to continue this activity? Especially if it's a business activity. Do I actually want to continue with this? Or do I want to let this all just kind of deflate as the partnership disintegrates? So I think you're doing a lot of thinking as this is happening. And I think that once you do, then you're able to come out and you're able to communicate with the world and you're able to sort of get things going in the direction that you want to go after you figure out, okay, well, which direction do I need to go now? And there is a sense of missing this partnership. Like, I don't think that these partnerships that are disintegrating, I don't think that they're planned out. I think this is just life circumstances has disintegrated those. And so there is a sense of missing that camaraderie, and that I really feel like for a lot of you, this is work type of stuff, missing working with those particular people. I apologize if you guys can hear this tone on my microphone. I think this is the tornado warning around here or something. Like, not an actual tornado warning, but just the test of the system. So if you can hear that and it's annoying you, my apologies. I really don't know the schedule to test the system. So here we are, making a recording right while that's going on. And I hope it ends soon. Next thing that we're looking at is learning style and communication style during this particular time in your life. So from the 12th to the 18th of July. So it does look like there is this idea of things sort of being turned on their head. And I think that has to do a lot with the friendships and the partnerships that are disintegrating. Okay, so it looks to me like you're learning a lot of things really quickly, completely by the seat of your pants for some of these things. And I don't think you're actually having any trouble learning them, but it is almost like a panic dive into information. You may be picking up responsibilities that some of these other people were handling, and you didn't really need to know how to do them. Well, now you need to know how to do them, and so you're having to figure them out on the fly. Okay? I don't think you have any kind of problem with picking up this information or learning it. You're really sharp, and you're curious. You're asking the right questions. You're going in the right direction. And I think it's just a matter of time before you get really good at these other things that you're picking up and these things that you're learning about doing and how to do. I don't think that, even though you're really good at picking this stuff up, I don't think that means there aren't going to be mistakes. I think there are going to be well, for a lot of you, there's just going to be one mistake along the way, but for some of you, there's going to be 2 or 3 mistakes along the way, and that's okay. It's part of the learning process. All right, but not anything to beat yourself up over. Communication style. I think you're going to be communicating in a very enthusiastic way. I think also there's going to be a lot of confusion in your communication especially when you're looking for this information on the fly, just off the cuff. So as you're keeping other people informed about what you're doing and giving them updates, there may be a lot of confusion about what to say to them because you're not exactly yourself. You're still figuring it all out. Okay? And I do feel like there is, you're definitely feeling the loss of somebody who was an asset that you were communicating with before, somebody who could really give you good solid advice and who could keep you really grounded. So I do feel like there is also some communication about feeling this loss. Next thing we have coming up. Talks to me about work. I think we've been talking a lot about work already, but we are going to look at work specifically now. Okay, so at work, I think a lot of you are interacting with somebody who can be sort of codependent. And I feel like this person may be sort of stepping into, they're trying to help. And obviously, you know, if you're learning things on the fly, it's probably not a bad idea to have somebody helping, but they're trying to help in ways that aren't necessarily helpful all the time. Okay, so they're doing some things where they're sort of stepping into your territory and making some decisions that actually aren't so much productive just because they have good intentions, but maybe not the most wise or the most knowledge coming into this situation. And I feel like you are going to be letting this person know. I think there's going to be an idea of setting boundaries for this person and saying, you know, I really appreciate the help. I know that you have the best intentions and that you care about me and you want things to go well, but I need you to back off on dot, 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 and this and this and this, because these things I know how to handle and these things I've got under control and the other things I'm learning. Okay, so I think you're going to have to kind of let this person know that while their intentions are appreciated, maybe their help isn't in the way that they've been helping, and even pointing them the direction of, okay, this is what I actually need would be the best thing that you could do in this particular situation. I got to tell you, Leos, I also feel like as far as work goes, you're kind of leaning on somebody, once again, who has crossed over. That showed up in the pivot point of the week before, that, you know, somebody who has crossed over started showing up in the reading. I think that you're leaning on them when it comes to work. I think you're finding some kind of way to communicate with them, or to, maybe you're just thinking, well, what would this person do in this situation? But there's some way or another that you're sort of leaning on them as you're making these decisions and as you're learning these things moving forward. Quickly, quickly. Now, let's look at your inner work. I really think this whole idea of standing up to somebody who's trying to help you and more getting in the way than helping, to me, this comes up as really your inner work just to get to the point that you can do this. You come across in these cards as somebody who normally is pretty laid back and just lets people do sort of what they want to do and doesn't really get ruffled about anything. And at this point, the things that this person is doing are making a significant difference, and you kind of have to say something. And I think you getting to that point where you're actually saying something, preparing yourself to do that, and then doing that actually is your inner work this week. Making yourself strong enough to do that and enough self-esteem to do that. And also you are being very careful to do this in a gracious and graceful way, because you know this person's intentions are not bad. They are good. Okay, so that's work and inner work. Next, we're going to look at those things that you stand for. All right. There was some kind of obsession or some kind of addiction that had an influence on your life before, and you have managed to beat it. And for some of you, you managed to beat it quite a while ago. Quite a while ago. And you're able at this point that the temptation for you to go back to it, the temptation is still there. It's not as compelling to go back into that obsessed and obsessive place anymore. Okay? And so I think you've got somebody that you're interacting with who really doesn't understand the idea that these obsessive or addictive things, that people can have victory over them, that people can control them and can master them. And I think you've got somebody that is basically trying to make you feel bad because there were times in your life when you didn't have control of this, when it was mastering you and you weren't mastering it. And I think that you're telling this person, you know what? Yeah, that happened. Yeah, that was in the past, but that's not who I am now, and that's not what I'm striving for now. And I think you're also telling them, if you can't give me credit for the person that I am now, then this conversation is kind of pointless. This conversation belongs 20 years ago, or 2 years ago, or 2 months ago, or whatever your particular case might be, Leo. Okay? I think this is really hurtful. I think that this kind of cuts the heart, because all the energy and effort you've put into mastering this is completely unacknowledged by this person. And I feel like this person is somebody who is, I won't say they're the most important person to you, but they're not unimportant either. And I think it bothers you a little bit that they can't see the energy and effort you've put into this and how well you're doing. Now, I will say, you know, the most empowering thing to be able to do is not worry about what other people think about us. They don't get to judge us. But it's not always the easiest place to be in either, where you don't worry about what people think about you. All right, let's look next at how other people perceive you, right after I say don't worry about what other people think of you. So this person that challenged you over this addiction or obsession or how you used to behave in the past, they still kind of see you. They do see the progress that you have made. They have seen that you are a responsible leader with integrity now, or a responsible parent with integrity, that you are leading people, whether it's at work, whether it's at home. They do see that you're a responsible leader with integrity, that you have respect for everybody. You're not playing favorites. And they see you as somebody who is really struggling to do that, to be a responsible leader with integrity. It's interesting, the dichotomy here, because at the same time that they see you as struggling to be that person, they also really don't see the challenge. Like, they don't understand, what is the challenge to being that person? What is that challenge to being a responsible leader? So this person just clearly, from these last two hands, this person clearly just does not understand the idea of mastering some kind of addiction or obsession. They just don't get it. It's not something that they've ever either had to deal with, or not something that they've ever dealt with well. Either way, something's going on there that they just don't get it. All right. Let's look next at the pivotal point in this week. What do we have coming up? Okay. I see you guys moving on into more peaceful, more calm waters. I see you guys letting go of something that was holding you back or holding you down. Walking away from something that was depleting you. I mean, I've basically got two cards that say moving away from something that was holding you back or holding you down, and walking away from something that was depleting you. So definitely, this is the pivotal. There may actually be two situations or two people that you are walking away from because it was having a negative influence on your life and on your personality, on you. Or this could just be a very strong message about the idea that you're walking away from something or someone. And as you're walking away from these two things, or as you're walking away strongly from this one thing, what we see going on is your self-esteem is improving. You're starting to find happiness. It's like as quickly as you walk away from those things, it's like flipping a switch. All of a sudden, I mean, almost that fast, your self-esteem is going up, and you're finding that much more relief and that much more happiness in your life. Okay, Leos? Now, let's look at what else is happening. Okay, so This walking away does look like a significant separation. It also looks like a temporary separation. So this is a separation from somebody who is significant to you. Or this could even be like going on vacation from work also, to be bringing that much happiness, that much self-respect, that much self-esteem, that much happiness. But definitely the situation, the walking away, it's a temporary thing. This card that I have coming up definitely says that it's temporary. It's happening for sure, but it's temporary. It's not a permanent walking away. And I think you are learning some things in your time away from this situation or from this person. You're learning some things. You're learning why you were feeling so unempowered while you were still in that situation. You're understanding some of the dynamics of that situation and what was making it tick and what was making you tick and why in that situation. Something else that's going on as you're walking away and feeling better. I feel like there really is some confusion here and possibly even a sense of apathy around this person or this situation that you've walked away from. As you're gaining insight about why you were feeling so unempowered in that situation or that relationship, it's almost like you're starting to numb down. I think that this is something that is making a big impact on you. And I do feel like in some ways you're kind of shutting down here. Emotionally, you're shutting down. You're still feeling this relief. You're still feeling more self-esteem. So I feel like this shutting down and this apathy has to do with whatever this was that you walked away from. Like once you get just a little bit of distance from it and you can see it more objectively than you could when you were right in the middle of it, just that little bit of perspective is enough to make you go, done. Just shutting it down. Okay? Now, even though I'm seeing this shutdown here, I'm still telling you it's temporary. That card is still on the table. This is a temporary situation. You will come back to whatever this is. Okay? Next thing that we have coming up is going to be what's going on towards the end of the week. You're still taking a break once we get to the end of the week. And this is, you're still not, you guys have not come back together at the end of the week. And things are looking pretty shaky. Things are looking pretty shaky, whether this is a work situation or whether this is a home life situation. I think that as you're still away, you're still thinking things over. You're still trying to get more perspective. You're feeling pretty shut down. That isn't changing. Things are feeling pretty shaky, and you're still, if you're not geographically distanced from this person or from this situation, you are definitely emotionally distanced by the time we get into the end of the week. Okay? So we've definitely got some things going on that are changing, having to do with people that you've been partnered up with. Like I said, whether this is friendships, business partners, could be romantic partnership even, but doesn't have to be that huge in the scope of things. Either way, you've got some definite things changing during the week of 12 to 18 having to do with relationships. Okay, Leo, and we're back. The next time frame that we're going to look at is going to be for the 19th of July to the 25th of July. I don't know if I've said this to you guys or not, but if you want to skip past the shuffling, feel free. I just include this in the video because some people do like to be a witness to the shuffling and the laying down of cards, so I know it does take extra time though, so feel free if you want to roll on past this, that's fine with me. Wildwood Tarot is what we're using for your monthly. All right, Leos. Let's start where we normally start. Let's start with your environment. An environment can be home, school, work, any place where you have energy or effort invested. And let's see. It looks to me like you're getting a little bit bored with your environment. You're ready to shift things up or change things, upgrade things, make things improved. You're dedicated to the environment that you're in. I don't think that you want to actually shift environments or move from one environment to another, but I do think that you want to, actually I'm going to say continue to upgrade your environment. I think that whenever you go long enough without doing some kind of upgrade to your environment, you get bored or restless to move on to the next thing. And I think that's what's happening here, is you've become bored or restless with the environment the way it is, and you're ready to make the next upgrade or change. This looks like a long-term improvement project, basically. Okay. Next, let's look at your subconscious leanings for the time frame from July 19th to the 25th, Leos. So Leos, in your subconscious, it looks like you have somebody who is someone who thinks outside the box. They're very creative, they're very social, generally very happy, optimistic type of personality. And it looks like this person has been doing some things that get on your last nerve. They've been annoying you, or they've even been maybe even backstabbing you or betraying you in some way, okay? And I think that you are bringing this to a final and complete end, or at least subconsciously you're figuring out, you're making that plan that you're going to put in place to bring that to a final and complete end. So maybe, maybe it's not coming to a complete end this week. We may see that if it is. It may be that you're just putting together some ideas and some plans at a subconscious level that later on will surface and that you'll act on. But for right now, you're really tired of the silliness. You're tired of whatever's going on where this person's getting on your last nerve, where you're feeling betrayed by this person, and you are, if nothing more than a subconscious level, working on how to remove that type of frustration from your life. Okay, next we're looking, Leo, at your learning style and communication style. I'm doing things in a little different order this time than I did to start with. Actually, the first couple of sections of time I did for you were out of my normal for my routine. I don't know why Spirit just led me to do it that way, but now we're back to the regular. So next thing we're looking at is learning style and communication style. So what I have for learning style is that you are finding some very valuable information to yourself that you are picking up between the 19th and the 25th. I think a lot of it is stuff that you're curious about. Also, a lot of it is stuff that you kind of had a foundation or a basis of knowledge to build on to with this stuff. So basically you're expanding your knowledge base or your information base here. Like I said, this new information I think is valuable for you. It may even help you to bring in more money or more material goods into your life. And I think that as you are learning, you're enjoying the process of learning, and you're enjoying that just by learning this information, you're starting to see some untapped potential that you hadn't really noticed before for things that you can accomplish and that you can do. Now, looking at your communication style, we have a lot of emotions coming up in your communications. We also have a lot of reflectiveness. There's going to be where you're going to be reflecting a lot on yourself. And I think you're going to be communicating about some of those emotions that you have around different things going on in your life. And I think that your communication is going to be very current, very much in the now. I don't see you talking a lot about things from the past as much as you're talking about things really in the present. Next, we're looking at work both ways. Work outside and work inside. Okay, so it looks like there may be something going on where work itself, what you normally think of as work, is really slow. And so you're taking this time to educate yourself or to make yourself more valuable in some way. So maybe taking a class, or maybe you're doing, just self-directed learning. Because work is slow, and because I think that while this slow time is here, first of all, you don't want to look like you're not doing anything. But secondly, this is giving you some ideas about things that you could actually be doing. For some of you, this is going to be expanding on what you already do for work. But for others of you, this could be that you're doing some research and doing some growth and some learning on something that's completely different that you could do on the side, or that you could do as a second position somewhere. So definitely new information coming in around work to make you more valuable in the workplace, to help you earn more money, 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 honey, because things are kind of slow at work. And I think things are a little bit scary. There's a little bit of an unknown around where you're working at right now, a sense of the unknown, like nobody seems to know exactly what's coming next. Not hard to imagine that in today's economy right now, with all the craziness. As far as inner work, I think you're really examining yourself, Leos, and you're looking at why you've been putting up with some things for a while, why you've been allowing them to continue on in your life when you know that they're not productive or they're not healthy. And I think your inner work really is to get up the strength to start to change some of those behaviors or some of those attitudes. It feels to me like you've been letting some things go on in your life that aren't healthy because it was easier. It was just easier to do that than it was to change things up and go in a more healthy direction. And so I think that you're taking the high road now. This can have to do with taking care of your body, health-wise, like literally body health-wise, but this can also do with spiritual health or mental health as well. And this can have to do with emotional or relationship health. You may be realizing that you put up with a lot of stuff in relationships or emotionally with people that it's just unacceptable, and you're building up strength so that you no longer do that anymore. All right. Alrighty. Let's look next at that part of your personality that's being grown or expanded as we go through this part of the month, the 19th through the 25th. You're doing a lot of work behind the scenes. Like, you're not really needing a whole lot of credit for the work that you're doing. You're not making a big show about that. You're putting in energy or effort on something. You're just going about business, doing what needs to be done, not really paying attention to who notices what. Just doing your thing, moving forward one step in front of the other. At the same time, though, you are making a decision. Like right now, you're still putting one step in front of the other, but you're also making a decision about whether you want to keep things status quo or whether you want to go out and do something completely different that you've never done before, that you would be creating just on the go. There's no how-to guide. This would be something that you're creating completely on your own. And I think that decision that you make, I think that you're going to find the answer to your decision in some type of festive gathering, some type of festive social gathering, whether it's a gathering that you're having to do on Zoom, or whether this is a gathering that you're doing in person with family members or friends, tribe members, whatever. I think your answer is going to come to you, and it's going to be put right in your face. And whenever you have that answer, you're just not even going to have to think about again whether you want to keep things the same and status quo, or whether you want to move forward. And I think that this is going to be happening on multiple levels for you during this week. Making decisions about staying status quo or creating something completely new instead. Next thing we're looking at are those things that you stand for. Leos. You are clearing some things away. Cleaning up baggage, so to speak. When you're clearing things away, you could be literally clearing the house for things to take to Salvation Army or Goodwill. I think at the same time that you're clearing things away, I think that you are also showing another person the benefits of clearing things away. I also get the sense that this has been something that's been a little bit hard for you to come to the conclusion that yes, you want to actually clear things away. I think that a lot of the things that you're clearing away are things that are associated with memories that you want to forget. And because you don't want to forget those things, that, you don't want to forget those memories associated with these things. I think it has taken you a while to get to the point of realizing that those memories aren't going anywhere no matter what you do with these things. Okay? And so you're clearing things away. I think you're also encouraging other people to clear things away as well. And I think you're finding it very empowering to do this. To lighten the load in this way. Okay? And I think somebody is confronting you about this. They're saying, why are you doing that? And you're having to tell them, well, because it's actually very empowering and it makes me feel good. And because I realize that it doesn't impact the memories. The memories will always still be there. Whether I keep the little mementos or not, doesn't matter. The memories are always there. I think you're having to explain that to somebody. And I think you're also having to defend why you've been encouraging somebody else to clear things out too. This feels really strongly like it's somebody younger than you, possibly even a child that you've been encouraging to clear things out. And so, yeah, having to defend yourself on that. How this person that you defended yourself to feels about you. It looks to me like they're trying to see everything from a logical standpoint, and to them it looks like you're going backwards. It looks like you're going into something that's going to make it harder for you instead of easier. They're really not understanding your perspective and the way you're thinking about things, and they're just seeing this as, to me, I think they are thinking that you are going to have a lot of regret and sadness and sorrow over clearing things out. And I think they're genuinely concerned about that and genuinely worried about that. And they're also worried about your little person that you've been encouraging to clear things out too. They just don't want you guys to have any regrets about what you're doing right now. They don't want you guys to be making any decisions that are overly emotional, so that you won't have regrets later on. Okay. Next, let's look at the pivotal point in this. This is the point where things start to change for you. I think you come into a challenging situation where you thought you were going to be collaborating with somebody, Leos, and it looks like they're not able to actually collaborate with you after all. And so you're kind of left holding the bag. And it's interesting because even though this is definitely a challenging situation, it inspires you to start taking better care of yourself, to start nurturing you, to start pampering you, to start making sure that you have everything that you need. So even though it's kind of a disappointing situation, it does give you that impetus to learn, okay, well, maybe I can figure out how to take care of this situation. And maybe along the way I can learn how to take care of me as well. Okay? So there are going to be things happening as you're going through that process. I do think that at first, whenever this person can't collaborate with you, you're going to be a little confused about what you think of that. Part of you, the emotional part of you, is not going to be very happy about it, but the logical side of you is going to be saying, you know what, this could actually be a really good thing. I can put my full flavor on this. I can put my full touch on this. We don't have to incorporate the other person's flavor into this or the other person's perspective into this. So your logic is seeing where there's benefits. Your emotions, however, maybe you were looking forward to doing whatever this is with somebody, with that other person. And so you're not very happy about the fact that the collaboration isn't happening, but you do have some really great creative ideas that come into play because of that. I think that one of the things that's happening is I'm really just feeling through these cards here. I think that you're putting down some of the mundane responsibilities that you have around home or around family as you're going through this, because you're doing a little bit of self-exploration. You are figuring out what it is that you actually like. And that takes time. That's not something that's just a wave of a magic wand. That takes time to do that. And so I think you're taking some of the responsibilities that you normally carry and you're asking somebody else. You're delegating to them those responsibilities to carry for a little while. Well, you take some time to really get to know you. Get to know you again. Okay, and what do we see you doing at the end of this week, Leo? Leo, Leo, Leo. This is similar to something that we saw last week that you guys were standing for. Not exactly the same, but similar. Once we get to this end of the week, you are manifesting something, and what you're manifesting is you're getting rid of the idea of letting other people just walk all over you and use you. You're not letting that happen anymore. And I really see, Leos, that this is taking some courage on your part. There's some fears around this for you. I think that you're afraid that if you don't let certain people use you or walk all over you, that they'll just disappear. Well, those fears certainly aren't unfounded. If somebody's just using you and they don't really care about you and you say, guess what, I'm not going to do this for you anymore. Usually they do walk away. Usually they look for somebody else who will do whatever it is that you do for them. So it's not that those are unreasonable fears. They're real. I think what you're really looking at, though, is, yeah, if that person does walk away, or if these people do walk away, what have I lost? I've lost somebody who uses me and takes me for granted and doesn't show me appreciation. So once again, what have I lost? It's like we see your self-esteem sort of building as this person that you were going to collaborate with lets you down, and you start focusing on what it takes for you to do things and for you to be happy. Your self-esteem is building to where you get to the end of the week and you're just like, you know what? It's kind of par for the course that you didn't collaborate with me, even though we had planned to. It's kind of the way things normally go with you, is I'm the one that carries most of the responsibility and you have most of the fun. And I'm tired of carrying most of the responsibility while somebody else has most of the fun. And so you're just putting an end to somebody walking all over you and not appreciating you. You're basically saying, I've had enough. This is over. This stops now. Okay? So that's what we have for that week. I'm going to take one more break and come. Okay, Leo, we are back with your last section of the month. This is going to be July 26th through 31, so the last 6 days in the month of July for you. Just shuffling up the cards really good before we start to put them down. All right, let's see what comes out for you guys. Alrighty. Okay, so let's start with your environment, Leos, from July 26th through the 31st. It looks like you are doing the things that you need to do to maintain and take care of your environment and keep it going. I don't think you're necessarily enjoying this, and I think that you're doing a lot of these maintaining and keeping going without direction or without guidance from somebody else, where you feel like it would be really nice to have some advice from somebody else, or have somebody else telling me, okay, this is what I need to be doing. Maybe you're filling in for somebody, and so you don't really know exactly what you're doing, but you just know that you are trying to keep things going, so you're working on keeping everything up. Excuse me. All right, subconscious leanings for Leos from the 26th to the 31st of July. You're really focused subconsciously on the idea of, I think you've realized that your self-esteem or your self-confidence is not exactly where you would like it to be or where you need it to be. And it looks to me like you're focused on the idea of figuring out, okay, why is my self-confidence so low? And you're really focused on coming out of that situation, whatever is going on that is creating that problem with self-confidence. You are working through that resistance, working through that obstacle and moving forward so that you can get your subconscious, so you can get your self-confidence back into a good place. And so that's what your subconscious is working on. Leos, excuse me. I think, wasn't it we saw earlier in the month learning around spirituality or using spiritual techniques? This week we see you actually finding information by having readings done. I think that you are going to somebody who is either actually doing a reading for you or who is mentoring or coaching or helping you to do your own readings. And it looks to me like you are finding actually lots of information. I think there are some things that you're confused about, but you're also getting lots of information that you're not confused about that feels really good and solid to you as you're collaborating with this other person, whether they're actually reading for you or whether they're helping you to read. Now, communication style. Once again, we have communication that's very reflective. You've been really thinking things through a lot, and I think you're talking about some of the thoughts that you've been having, some of the feelings that you've been having around things that are going on. Communication style is very grounded, meaning you're paying really close attention to the person that you're communicating with or the persons that you're communicating with. As you're doing it, you are very aware of how they're receiving your communication and how they're reacting to it. And I do think that you are communicating quite plentifully. I don't think anybody can accuse you of not telling them about something or of leaving them out of some type of information, because I think that you're definitely I don't want to say you're over communicating, but you're definitely communicating in an abundant manner. I like it. All right, let's look next at work. Workity work, 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 work. So you've got a few things actually going on with work right now. First of all, once again, interacting with somebody who is being very codependent. They're trying to help you. They have good intentions, but they're going a little bit over the boundaries. I don't think they're going over as far as they did whenever we saw them show up a couple of weeks ago at work. And maybe this isn't even the same person for some of you, but for a lot of you, this is actually the very same person. I think that they're getting a grip on themselves. They're not as much in your territory as they were before. I think they're starting to understand that you've got this to a much greater degree than they did before. I also think that as you're working, you're definitely following a lot of your intuitive hits or intuitive gut instinct type of thing. Maybe some people call the intuition gut instinct. You're following your gut instinct and it's not leading you wrong. And the other thing that's happening is I think everybody at work is kind of rallying together to get past a particular obstacle. I do see everybody coming together, and this is something that, it's not just work related. There's also some personal flavor in there as well. So everybody rallying together to get through some kind of obstacle that's been going on at work, I feel like. La da da da, la da da da. That part of your personality which is being grown or expanded right now, Leo. Let's take a peek. End of July 26th to the 31st. You are learning about your own healing. I think you're having some kind of struggle. Now, healing is a big word, as in there's a wide range, there's a wide lens on healing. That can be mental or emotional, that can be spiritual, that can be physical. But you're learning about healing, and it's bringing the end of some challenges for you. Some of you may be learning about some type of energetic healing modality and practicing with it on yourself and realizing, wow, this really works. Like, I feel so much better. That could be happening. You could be learning about something that is not energetic at all, but still is within the healing realm, more of a scientific type realm. And by learning about this, it brings the end to some kind of struggle that you've been having. So to me, there's some kind of, I'm going to say for most of you, this is a medical struggle, although I do feel like for some of you, this may be mental or emotional. But I'm going to say 80% of you Leos, we're talking about more something medical that has been bothering you or niggling at you for a while. I think that if you've gone to the doctor for it, the doctors may not have really necessarily put you on the right path or put you on a path at all in some cases. And so I think really this is your own, I think you're talking to somebody about this situation, and as you mention it, something clicks for that somebody and they say, oh, I had that happen to me too and nobody knew what to do about it, and I did some research and this is what I found out and this is what I tried and this is how it worked for me. And so you are sort of picking their brain. And then I think you're going home and you're Googling and you're doing your research. But I like this because this is bringing an end of a struggle. So this is something that is actually helping you with your situation, whatever this information is that you're learning about that has to do with your health. Really, really, really cool. And that's where you're growing or expanding. And so for this to be the part of your personality that's growing or expanding, it may be that whatever it is that you heard, you may get fascinated with some aspect of that healing venue, shall we say, And you may start to do more research and expand your information and your knowledge in that area. Yeah. All right. Next. Those things that you stand for. Somebody's probably accusing you of doing exactly what you did and trying to tell you how it wasn't right. You're having to stand up for it whenever we see this show up. So basically it looks like what happened is you were looking out for yourself. I think there was somebody that came up that was making some kind of moves on you, romantically or sexually, some kind of intimate moves on you, and you basically said, get lost, Jack. Don't need it. Or get lost, Jill. Don't need it. Not interested. Okay? And so this person who challenged that may be Jack or Jill. But we're going to see how they're viewing you. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was Jack or Jill. They see you as somebody who's hermetizing, that you're being alone, that you're withdrawing. I don't get the feeling that you're being alone. I do feel that you're withdrawing from them in particular. But they're seeing you as somebody who is being alone and basically kind of sulking. That's their attitude that they think you're doing. They feel like you really have refused an adventure whenever you told them to get lost. You refused an adventure. And they also have this attitude of, how dare she, or how dare he, how dare that Leo tell me to get lost? How dare they? Don't they know they're missing out? I guess that person just wants to be alone the rest of their life. This is kind of their attitude. And they may actually even say that to you. For some of you, I think they're going to say that to you. I think this is going to be an all-out confrontation in some of your cases. Not for all of you. For some of you, it's going to be a heated confrontation whenever you tell this person, you know what? Yeah, I'd rather not be hanging out with you. Sorry. They're not going to like that very much. They're going to take it personal. I mean, we say stuff like that isn't personal, but if you don't want to hang out with a person, it is kind of personal. But they're going to make a much bigger deal of it than what it really should be. You got to have your feelings. You get to have your choices. They seem to think that you only get to have your feelings and your choices if they go along with their feelings and their choices. That's going to be fun, Leo. Alrighty. Let's look at the pivot point for the week, or the point where things sort of change direction. I think you're really focused. There comes a point in the week where you are really focused on helping somebody to see that they have nothing to be jealous about or nothing to feel insecure about. I feel like you're so focused on this that you're putting that person's insecurity above your own needs. You are trying so hard to soothe this person's insecurity or this person's jealousy that you're not doing what you need to do really to take care of yourself. Okay? But you're very focused on soothing somebody's insecurity or jealousy. Now, and this is the pivot point for the week. This is where things sort of change directions for you. Excuse me. What is going on here? I think because you're so focused on soothing this other person, you're getting rid of some kind of agreement or contract you have with somebody else, or maybe even with another company. But you're getting rid of some kind of agreement or contract. You may be getting rid of a friend. And I think that it doesn't make you feel very good about yourself. Doesn't make you feel very good about yourself to do this. Just to soothe this other person. But at the same time, wow, you're really attracted to this other person. So you're leaving that other thing behind. You're leaving that other thing behind, even though you're not feeling really good about leaving this other thing, whether it's a employment opportunity or a contract or whether it's a friendship. It doesn't make you feel very good to leave it behind. It makes you feel like you're actually in a more weak position than what you were after you leave that behind. But you're so enamored with this person that has all the insecurity. You go ahead and you do that. Even in the midst of you being really confused about, I think you're really confused about where this is possibly going. I think you're hoping for the best, but you're already seeing the writing on the wall. Even as you write off this friend or contract or commitment, you're seeing the writing on the wall that, you know, if things continue with this person being this insecure, then I end up smothered, or we end up going nowhere. And I don't know if I can be smothered. I think you're already having those thoughts. And then we get to the end of the week. You're really contemplating and you're really thinking things over. You're trying to decide what you're going to do with this whole situation with the insecurity of this other person. You're trying to figure out, you know, what is it going to take for me to make this person feel less insecure and less jealous? What's it going to take for me to be able to pull that off? And you're trying to really count the costs. Like, do I have what it takes to be able to pull this off? Is it possible for me to live my life and for this person to not feel so insecure about the idea that I'm living my life? And I think that honestly, I think you're even talking to somebody who has crossed over about this. I think you're talking to a spirit that you used to go to for advice or counsel. I think you're talking to, praying to, whatever words you want to use there, asking them for advice about this situation, like, what should I do? Maybe this is a significant other that has passed away that you used to talk to about everything, and so you're talking to them about this situation, saying, what should I do? What should I do? Maybe it's your dad. Maybe it's a brother. But it's somebody that you used to be able to lean on for advice that's crossed over. You're talking to them. You're trying to get some help making this decision about, oh my gosh, can I handle this? Is this going to get better? And it looks like you are moving in a direction to where you're moving out of that drama-filled water into something that is much more calm and peaceful. Now with this combination of cards, I'm not really able to tell if you're moving from drama water to calm water by finding a way to soothe this person out of their insecurities, or if you are just moving away from having to do that tap dance for them. That's something that's going to be different for each of you as individuals. And of course, y'all have been watching YouTube a long time. Y'all know if you want to know specifically what's going on for you, it's always best to get a private reading where your reader is just looking at your particular energies only. And of course, I do offer those. I think most of you know that. All my information's in the contact. All my contact information is on the website listed in the description box below this video. So anyway, you're definitely finding a way to more peace by the end of the week, whether it's by actually getting this person soothed out of their insecurities, or whether it's by walking away from a situation where you have to keep somebody continuously soothed and comforted away from their own insecurities and their own jealousies. Okay? So that concludes our month, Leos. Thank you so much for being here. I do appreciate all the thumbs ups and sharing this video with anybody you think that it might be helpful to. And of course, I appreciate those of you who are subscribed and keep coming back and keep coming back and keep coming back. And I appreciate all of you that are ordering private readings from me. I love to do those. I love to get to talk to you each one-on-one. And it is because of all of you guys' support at every single level, whether you're ordering private readings or just putting a like on this video. All of that helps me to continue to do what I love to do for my living. So thank you very much. Namaste, everybody. If I don't see you here for a private reading, then I'll see you back here on the next video. Peace out. Come back, and then we'll do the very last segment of July for you. Thanks for being here, guys. let me go ahead and take a little break, and then we'll come back and we'll take a peek at the next week.